Everybody, welcome back to Equal Time Soccer. We are live from the Blackheart Bar, your home for the Women's World Cup this summer, and also your home for Equal Time content because this is where I keep my big computer. So we are welcoming today, we're lucky to have the USLW League Defender of the Year, Minnesota Aurora co-captain, and all-MAC defender, All-Ohio, which we have to talk about, and an Ontario Soccer League champion, Tianna Harris. Welcome, Tianna.
Hey, Mark. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, all right. We are excited. We waited a little bit for the season to decompress so we can talk in clear minds. But we talked to you all the way back when you were at tryouts in the winter. You happened to be here. You were doing some training at Pura Vida, and you were at the open tryouts. So it wasn't some high level, college recruiting type story. I guess. How did you? I think we asked you at the time. I couldn't find the clip. How did you hear about Aurora and the tryouts? How'd you get over there?
So when I was training at Pura Vida, there was like a few girls, specifically Kenz and Abby, who were also training at Pura Vida, and I'd heard like a little bit of hype around Aurora at the time. But they were talking about how they had such a fun year being there. So I wanted to check out what the hype was about. So I went to the tryout when I was there in December, and I definitely understood what the hype all around Aurora was. So it was exciting.
Yeah, it was a nice tryout setting because they had some previous players there to help kind of raise the standard or set some sort of standard, because an open tryout's really brutal. I will say 2 years in a row in the first open tryout, I was like, I think Christelle Yewa will get signed. And then this year I was like, Tianna Harris looks pretty good. Obviously not a hard pick to make given that you were W League Defender of the Year. But talk about your impressions of the team just from talking to Kenz, talking to Abby, and talking to the coaches and being at the tryout, but then actually how different it was, or if it was different when you actually were in the mix starting in May here.
Yeah, I mean, so at the tryout, it was kind of nice because I had already known Abby and Kenz previously. So it was kind of like more comfortable. The girls, even on the girls who were already on the team that last year, were also like very welcoming. And I remember Coach Nicole had asked Mariah to say something about like what the season meant to her or something like that about last year. And the way she described it is exactly kind of how I felt like going into the season with the girls. I think Nicole did a great job having us all be in Zoom before the actual season. So we were starting to like form those bonds and like just kind of be familiar with how people, what people were saying, and also just like getting to see your teammates' face before actually being on the field. So I think if I were to compare what the experience from the tryout was to like the actual season and being on the team, I would say it's like they were like literally like family. I think the girls just all want everyone to succeed. The coaches try their best to set you up for success. And it was a great year. Honestly, it's something that you honestly just have to be a part of to describe.
Yeah, it was one of the parts that there was these jitters of in the first open trainings and seeing even in the first games, we would talk to returning players, and then we talk to new players about kind of the atmosphere of the tension between a lot of summer league teams. There can be heavy turnover. It's not always continuous, but this coaching staff brought back a large bulk of the team, right? And so there we go. Are you still here?
Yeah.
Brought back most of the team. And of course, they did really well last year, but then they're seeing new people. And so we would be asking, how's the chemistry working of like the competition for spots? But it really, maybe it just seemed like that, or you all played a good game in front of us, but it seemed like the chemistry integrated pretty well right away. You were seen as a leader, it seemed like, right away, wearing the armband when Kenz wasn't playing. So talk about it seems like the chemistry was there and you were someone who were able to step into a role immediately.
Yeah, I think, like I said, Nicole actually, she kind of like prepared us for that type of competition level. I think everyone understood that there's a lot of talent on this team. So like, you're going to have to come here and you're going to have to work. And I think everybody had that kind of mindset of just like, whether it was like, my role today is, being on VIP, my role today is being on the field. Like, I think everybody tried their best to embrace their role. And every single week it was different. Nicole and the whole entire coaching staff gave people opportunities to try and show up, work. And like, it was really like, we didn't know, like every week the roster would be like something new because people are just working every single week to try and prove themselves. And I think that's what made us so good as well. And it wasn't like a toxic environment. It was more like, I want you to do like your best, so I'm going to show up at practice my best so that we can have a better team. And I think that type of mindset really helped us in our success in the season as well.
How did the chemistry on Aurora compare to the other teams you've been on? Like, you know, Mississippi State and Kent State, the obvious examples.
I mean, I think I was a little bit nervous coming into it because when you're in like a pre-professional environment, it's more so like maybe a little bit more competitive, but it wasn't like that. I would compare it very similar to like a college environment where it's like people really care about you as a person and they want you to do well. So I think the experiences that I've had with my college teams personally, comparing it to Aurora, I would say that it was like really similar, like more of like a support instead of like, you know, girls tearing each other down for a spot. It's more like you're working your butt off. I recognize that and I respect that. But next week I'm going to come back and I'm going to try and get my spot. You know what I'm saying? So it's just a competitive environment. I think people were just open to just, it's what it takes to be the best. So we were trying to do those things.
Yeah. Do you think it's unique in terms of a summer league team and the fact that it's so quick and you wouldn't normally have like the years maybe of program building like you do in a college? It seems like that is maybe an impressive aspect of the coaching staff. Like you mentioned, they do things off the field and on the field to foster that. It seems like
For sure. I think as well, the coaching staff did an amazing job of just picking like good humans as well. Like people who, you know, they thought were going to fit well into the previous roster and the girls who were currently on the team. They weren't picking people who didn't care about soccer, who were just here for like, obviously we're here for fun, but at the end of the day, like we want to win. So they did a great job picking good humans. And I think that translated to like how everyone kind of bonded on the team as well. Cause every single girl on that team is just like an amazing person off the field and on the field.
Yeah, that's something we hear from other players too. That's it's clearly the recruitment it was done with intention, and you could see that as well by the fact that like you are obviously a high performing college player. You know, you're on the Herman watch list, but you can see by the people that the coaches select, it's not about just trying to get everyone who's if they happen to be on the roster at Stanford or happen to be a roster somewhere else. You know, Maya Hansen's the all-time points leader, and you know, South Dakota State's a great program, but you know, it's not North Carolina, it's South Dakota State, and she's killing it. You know, so they clearly know how to make the balance work. And yeah, clearly one of the coaches too. I mean, shout out to Jen Clark, who her talent was being recognized after doing well with Aurora, and she's now an assistant at Northwestern in the Big Ten. So everyone's going pro. Everyone's stepping up.
Exactly.
Talk about your first impressions playing at TCO with Trevon Tillett and all the fans cheering you on. Talk about that.
Okay. I kind of got a taste of what it was going to be like when we met the first day at Mall of America, and you could just kind of see how like dedicated these people are to see girls who some girls they've never seen before. So I was like, wow, these fans in Minnesota really know how to show up. But I think the most amazing moment for me was that first game when we had all walked out, the roster got announced, and just hearing the fans like cheer. It's literally chilling like to think about, and you can talk about it all the time and like people can say like it's going to be loud, like it's going to be lots of people, sold out stadiums, but when you actually are feeling it and you're in that moment, I don't think there's a better feeling at all.
Yeah. What were the biggest crowds you'd played in front of before that?
Honestly, I maybe less than 1,000. Definitely less than 1,000. In college, maybe.
What teams were those, do you think, like that had the best crowds in college that you played?
Honestly, it would probably be against BG at like Bowling Green, which is we had like a championship game against them at their home, and I think that was probably the most fans, and I don't even know if it touched 500. So really big difference. Yeah, absolutely. And even in the early stages, you know, some fans were like, oh, it's not quite as big because it was a lot of midweek games. We were still getting like 4,000 and 5,000 people to a Wednesday game. And absolute blast. Talk about in terms of in the stadium, one of the things that makes it fun. I love that the coaches do this as well. They totally encourage celebrations. They welcome it. You know, these are players who are like, people are paying to see them play, right? So they want entertainment. So I love that they let them celebrate a lot. What are your favorite celebrations from this year? I mean, Mariah does a great job creating these celebrations. She's literally like our celebration captain. So before games, like we'll talk about it, but like doing them it's just something so cool when it's like in the moment. My favorite would have to be Probably that first celebration we did with like cat wrap, and she was like in the walkway and
Did a
of all of
runway?
us, yeah, on the runway, and we're like taking pictures of her, like we're like the photographers and the paparazzi. So
Yeah.
that one was really fun. Um,
Mhm.
there was like another one that we did when Maya Hansen scored. I think it was like three. It was like a hat trick that game. We did like threes. Like the she scored the ball in like the net someone was doing. It was just so fun. Like all of them. Like I love all of our celebrations, but those two were really fun.
Do you practice them? I mean, some of them you have to practice a little, or at least you speak through it, because it's
Yeah.
if all of you are in it.
We definitely speak through it. Like before the game, we'll say like, okay, like first goal. Not even will. Like Mariah literally tells us, this is what we're doing. This goal. You know, like we obviously contribute ideas of celebrations, but she'll be like, all right, first goal, this, and we'll just talk through it before the game. So
Yeah.
it's kind of on the fly, kind of not.
I love it. I love it. I happen to love. Yeah, Kat was involved in a lot. I mean, it happens when you're involved in goals.
Literally.
You know, Adler and Maya are maybe Kat that probably celebrated the most of like the three players who scored all the time, and I loved it. My favorite one happened to be some of them I missed too because I'm trying to get the goal highlights to post.
Right.
So I was like, why didn't they celebrate? I asked Nicole in the opening game. She's like, there were like 3 choreographed celebrations that I missed, but I love the one where everyone was in it and you all lined up and just did a squad pick.
Yeah.
And just like posed out, and
that one was
and
sick.
Cat Rap was in the middle, just like because I think she had just scored, and it was very fun. Yeah, and it makes for great content, and also it makes builds a lot of fan favorites. Do you have a favorite goal you scored? Obviously, like, I think you had the 1-0 game winner in that away game in Rochester, so that was a crucial goal, kind of a tough game. But then other than you, I mean, there were a lot of good goals this year. Do you have a favorite goal from this year?
My favorite would have to be, I mean, Cat scores a banger damn near every game. So does Maya. But the craziest one was literally when Hannah just subbed in. Like her first touches on the ball was a goal. And I think that one was like, oh my gosh, like this girl is literally amazing. Like she's just a dog. So I think that one, probably Mariah's when she put the ball through the girl's legs and I was just shook to the core. So those, but I don't know, like you said, like Maya, Cat, everyone kind of scored bangers this year, and it was just it's hard to pick one. Yeah,
Kat's in the playoffs. Kat having that goal in the playoffs where she came around the box and hit the far corner, and then Adler hitting kind of the same goal right after was funny. And then I mean, it's hard to honestly. There were, I think, 50 plus goals, so it is tough to remember. You'd have to go through, check out the Deep and the Equal Time Twitter threads to find all those goals. You mentioned, I mean, Mariah, we know is the choreograph, leader for celebrations. Also, you guys do a lot of dancing, like pregame to get hype, probably in the locker room, I'm sure. Who's the best dancer, Tianna?
That's obvious. Addie, she is the best dancer.
We've heard that before. Addie.
She's a wild card.
Can we just say, shout out to, the Mormons of Utah having a best dancer. Full credit. Addie, credit. And Addie also, by the way, Addie scores some bangers as well.
Yes. Oh my, I was shook. Honestly, this team just has dogs, straight dogs.
There were plenty of shoe polishing going on. Like when Morgan hits a long one, I feel like people shine her up, and that's also good. I know you're interested in fashion. You majored in marketing, right? Who's the best dressed on the team? You can name a couple if you want.
Abio's kick game is disgusting. So she has
sneakers or just or like other
like sneakers. Like her shoe game is elite, so I'll give that to her.
Okay.
But I don't know. I'll take credit for best dress. You know what I'm saying?
I was thinking you might.
I'll give credit where it's due, though. Honestly, she's up there. Stell's fitted.
Yes.
She's a good one. Honestly,
Christelle has that. She can buy more. Look, she knows she's about to be getting that dentist money. She can invest in these things.
Exactly.
No, I'm sure she's horribly disciplined with money as well. Christelle has it all together more than all of us. But she definitely. If you see her Insta is full of fits. For sure.
So those ones.
So another question about Aurora, and then we're going to do a break and go into a little bit of growing up in the college times for you. Okay. I needed to ask. So I caught this just watching on the sideline, and that the players had a player cam. Like, and I thought it was a VHS camera. I was like, how'd they get this old ass camera? But it was a digital, but it's a flip camera.
Yeah.
And I think it's an old film camera that I used last year. And so the players, they don't need it for film. And the players are just used it to make kind of a documentary about, I mean, I think probably we're all influenced by seeing how many sports documentaries there are.
Right.
And you just had it following you around. So one question, will we ever see any of that footage in some material way?
Oh, that's actually a good question. I mean, I hope you guys will see that footage. It's really funny. I know that some of the stuff on there is just like
You can
comical.
edit it. You can take the players. Yeah, I'm sure you might want to pass.
So I think Raya's probably gonna have to cut that one up, but
Yeah.
she'll probably deal with that, or Taylor. Maybe one day if you see any film,
I mean,
watch out.
here's the thing, it's kind of a joke, but I mean, this is actually very true. And Mariah, I'm sure you're watching, probably not you, but maybe your mom. Mariah, keep that footage, because if Aurora becomes a professional team that has a past, that will be some highly valuable. It's like the 99ers, they made a documentary out of that on ESPN. Julie Foudy carried a VHS camera all of 99.
That's crazy.
And it's amazing. And it's like, and they also weren't as guarded then, because they weren't used to being on camera all the time. So
right.
You would say anything. But also, we will read an ad now. This show is brought to you by Pentz Homes. Whether you're buying or selling or looking to do some projects in your current home, Nate and Lydia can help you find what you need. Need financing for a basement remodel? Looking at a second bath or even a workspace now that you're working from home? Pentz Homes and their preferred lender, Angie Shearer, with Luminant Financing, can help find the right financing tool for you. Go to pentzhomes.com to learn more, or find them on social media at Pentz Homes. All right, let's talk Whitby, Ontario. Yeah, you said it's a small town. It is, but close to. It's in the Toronto metropolitan complex. It's kind of like as far out as Blaine is for people from the cities ish like that. What was soccer like growing up? Because Toronto is really a soccer hotbed. I mean, at least in producing, pro players.
Yeah, we have some high talent. I think I started kind of late my soccer journey, but I started when I was 9.
Yeah.
What would I say about it? I would say it was starting to grow a lot. I think I wasn't the best when I started at all. I literally started on like my hometown's like B team. But I worked really hard and I trained because I hate not being good at something. So I really stuck with it. And luckily my mom had the ability to let me do extra training. So I would do extra training, and I had a goal to be on the A team. And then every single year I would just continuously try my best to be better, get better, or be on the next best team. So I would say as a kid, I was very determined. I worked extremely hard to get to where I was. And I knew at a young age I wanted to get a soccer scholarship. So I worked my butt off, extra training. My mom also would wake me up early, and we would go for a run every single morning before school. It was a lot of hard work, but I would say it was a hard journey, and I just worked my butt off to get to where I am today.
Well, shout out to Janet, right?
Yeah.
Janet, getting you up to ride. That's fun. Well, and when you're getting as a kid, you're getting better. You're actually kind of getting competitive and serious about it. When was the age that you thought, oh, I'm going to get a college, I want to try and get a scholarship? Because maybe thinking about pro is a little, it's harder to think of in terms of, especially, there aren't teams in Canada yet, but there will be. But when did you actually think, I'm committing to this, I'm going to get a D1 scholarship and make it my goal?
Okay, so there was a girl who was my mentor who actually helped. She was the trainer that was training me at the time, and she had a scholarship. Her name's Sylvia Forbes. She had a scholarship to Purdue.
Okay.
And I wanted to be like her so bad. So I was like, you know what? I want a scholarship. And as soon as I started to progress, I would say maybe age 11 or 12. So only a few years after that, I was like, yeah, this is what I want to do. And I had worked so hard previously. So I was like, if I keep working this hard and I keep getting better each year and seeing results, there's no reason why I don't get a scholarship. I'm just going to keep working. And that was my goal.
Yeah. The value of having an example that you get, so it's a reality, right? That's,
exactly.
It's like Aurora's value in the community for boys and girls. What did you always play defense or when you were a kid?
No, I played midfield. And then I remember one year my coach was like, yeah, I think what had happened was our center back got hurt or something like that.
Mhm.
And then I moved from holding mid to defense, and ever since then it just stuck. Like I was already I was like, I love defending, and I was trying to be like the best defender in midfield position, but then playing center back, I was like, yeah, I actually love this. I love
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, I didn't know if there was a past of you being a striker, because you do tend to get some goals. You had some goals at Kent State. You had some goals for Aurora, obviously. You know, some with your head, but also just, you know, you do a lot of distributing as well. That was something that Aurora had in numbers, was defenders who can distribute from the back.
Right.
Talk about when so you're in Ontario, you know that there's a lot of scholarships in the US. So I know, like I've seen in other interviews,
Mm-hmm.
just knew there's a lot of opportunity there. And D1 soccer is it's one of, if you were trying to rank the world standards of soccer leagues, the United States D1 soccer is probably supported with like facilities and money, as well as like, or better than a lot of places that are pro. So I understand your goal. Although, did you consider, were there any college, I know Canada just has the one division of athletics. Did you consider any Canadian schools?
No, I was like, no, I don't even want to do that. I joined a team immediately because, to be honest with you, any good soccer player or like any girl that I knew at that age was trying to do the same thing.
Yeah.
So I had joined like an academy team who literally traveled to America, and we would travel to America with the objective of being seen like to showcases. Like we would go to showcases, and we would try and showcase ourselves in front of US college coaches. So that was always the dream.
Yeah. Was that Durham Academy?
Yeah, FC Durham.
Yeah. So and is that how you ended up being seen by Mississippi State? Because Mississippi is a far cry from Ontario.
Yeah. Actually, that journey was kind of crazy how that happened. I was actually home. There was a showcase here called the Umbro tournament. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, but I had a showcase here, and before Mississippi State, even I had committed to FIU.
Oh.
Which is so crazy because obviously Kat goes there, and I'm pretty sure Eli's going there now. So I was like, oh yeah, FIU. But so I had committed previously to FIU, and then we had a coaching change. So the head coach there left, and the previous head coach at FIU knew Mississippi State coach. So he actually helped me out a lot, and then communicated with the Mississippi State coach. We got on campus, and he wanted to see me play. And then I just, did exactly what I needed to do, and luckily got scouted for their team as well.
Yeah. Talk about so I've been to the South. I've been to Texas. I've been to Georgia, Florida. I have not, though, been to like Mississippi and Alabama, and also not, I don't know if it's a smaller town in Mississippi as well. I mean, somewhat smaller city.
Yeah.
But just talk about first impressions, because you visited before you committed. Yeah. But talk about just like weather, food, just impressive of being there.
Well, we actually drove because we drove from here to Mississippi.
How far is that? That's like 16 hours.
Yeah, it was really long. It was like 17 hours or something like that.
Like Detroit and Indiana and stuff.
It was so far. And I remember when we got like closer, I think it was like going through Kentucky, or we got closer to Mississippi, and I had just went to FIU, where it's like in Miami, like beaches, palm trees. I'm like, yes, this is my dream.
Yeah.
And then I go to Mississippi, and I'm like, cornfield, like fields. And I'm like, no way I'm going to be here. But then I got on campus, and like Starkville, where Mississippi State is located, is like the cutest college town in the world.
Yeah.
And I used to watch a lot of like Friday Night Lights, which is like this football show.
It looks exactly like that. Yeah.
And I'm like, college town, like this feels like a movie. So like the facilities also were like insane.
Of course, yeah.
Like it's a SEC school, so the facilities are like amazing. And it was just like, I was like, yeah, actually I want to be here. Like I love it here. Also, the people on campus were like so welcoming, so nice. Like anybody who knows that has been to Starkville knows how like friendly and like a good community it is. It literally felt like I was at home, even though I'm literally like in the South. Like I was very like shook by how it wasn't that different, because in Canada it's like pretty friendly as well.
Yeah.
But the friendliness level, like everyone was so sweet and just good people all around. But it was a lot of culture shock. But the food,
I was gonna say
the food is
maybe tough for a college coach's dietary plan to have the food in Mississippi. But what was your favorite thing about that food? What are the favorite items? I mean, obviously, like just getting good barbecue, getting,
Yeah.
whatever, good cookout food.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't really a huge fan of like seafood before, but they had
Yeah.
like catfish was like a really big thing.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, like fried catfish, that sounds kind of scary. But
Yeah.
the food that they offer on campus, like there's this place called the Temp, and it's like where all athletes eat.
Yeah.
And it's like I don't even know what they put in the food there, but it was so good. I literally started eating fried catfish, and I was like, I don't
Oh,
even
yeah.
I don't know what this is, but it's so good. Like
Yeah, the seafood, the shrimp, and
it
the
was
what?
amazing.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
amazing. So I think the South is winning. The cornbread,
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh.
Cornbread, sure. That would be, food would be the win for sure down there.
Yeah.
Did you, yeah. Well, I mean, you're not from a place without good seafood, but it is kind of different. Yeah, like,
Mhm.
I mean, the doing the boils and stuff, and I mean,
Yeah.
it'd be, that'd be a whole scene. I love it.
Right.
Talk about transferring. It's a lot easier now. You had to do it back when you had to sit out. Things were less lenient. Just talk about that process, and just maybe if now seeing the way players are able to move, if you're a little jealous and envious of people's swift transitions now.
Very jealous. I think, it's kind of scary now though, because there's actually so many people in that transfer portal. But I would say my transferring process was like a little scary because I entered the portal in like May, and like people start the season in like July, August.
Yeah.
So it was a little scary for me. I was a little bit like, oh my gosh, am I going to find a team? But luckily, Coach Rob at Kent State took a little chance on me. I mean, I think so my coach from Canada actually was an assistant coach at Kent State.
Okay.
And I think he kind of was like, well, like Kent State's not a bad idea. And then Coach Rob gave me a chance. And I think, I was so grateful for the opportunity. So it all worked out the way it was supposed to work out. But I am very jealous of how the transfer portal works now.
Yeah.
But it was pretty smooth for me. It was kind of overwhelming because when you first get in, it's like so many emails from coaches and stuff like that. And like, you feel loved. You're like, wow, like people want me, like, but it's a little bit of an overwhelming process, but I was grateful. Mine was pretty smooth.
Yeah, it's always a good thing for players to have the freedom, that coaches also have, because coaches can leave, but we're still working through that process of, how many players can actually get into it and they get a successful outcome from it. So I'm sure that will kind of shape the amount of transfers in the future too, because it's across all sports. It's like, they kind of cut the cord and let it be wild. So we're figuring it out, but it is a nice thing that we've seen other like Minnesotans, and there's been Aurora players like Taylor Kane was able to transfer out. She's going to be at Iowa after, her first year in college. So, and like you said, one of the Rapp sisters is going to be moving this fall. So it's a good thing that players have the power, but a lot of pressure to get it right. And it puts a lot of pressure on yourself to be self-aware of how much value you have as a player and where you really stand. Yeah,
for sure.
You at Kent State, not like a traditional powerhouse, but you came in, had a decent first year, but it was into COVID and kind of that messy time. In 2021, you got a really pretty solid year for Kent State. Like you said, that was probably the year you were playing that Bowling Green game. What did you take away from stepping in, actually becoming a leader? What do you remember about that time of having that a winning season and kind of how it helped you as a player?
I think it helped a lot because that senior class who was with me that year was like, we almost had like a leadership group. And I think the relationships that we had formed like off the field really benefited us on the field. Tell you, sorry, it kind of cut out. Okay. A lot of girls would tell you like who have been on that team, like it was just a different feel, like everybody was willing to work for each other. And I think having that leadership group, like even though like I was a captain, like it wasn't even like it was a one person led thing. Like it was like all of us seniors in that group, we knew what we needed to do to create a winning environment. And we did what it took. We did exactly what it took. And even those freshmen who came in, and the current girls who were there, like the other upperclassmen understood, like we knew what we were saying, so they're willing to work just as hard for us, and we're willing to do the same. So I think that helped a lot. Also, our coaching staff was just amazing. I think they helped create this training environment that was so good for us that when we got to games, it was like, okay, like we got this, like we're clicking, we're moving, and I think that helped as well. Yeah.
So after that 2021 season, then the next year you were named the Mac Herman watch list. That get to your head at all, Tianna? That get to your ego at all?
No, actually, like I was kind of like I mean, I was shocked. Like, I think getting those types of accolades, I mean, for me, I think it only makes you want to work even harder because this is like an expectation people are setting on you. Even just being on a watch list of
Yeah.
that type of, like, that's literally like a Heisman trophy
Yeah.
for college football. So being even on a watch list made me feel like, holy crap, like I need to be working even harder. I think that helped because of my mom, she's never like letting me settle. She's never letting me be confident or not confident. She's always making me feel confident, but understanding that like this is just a part of the journey. You have so much more to go. So I'm never complacent. And I think that helps a lot with just like my growth as a person and as a player as well. So those type of accolades, those really put a fire up my butt and make me work like 1,000 times harder.
Be like, I better not look like a poser. Like, I better
Literally.
not. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, I
now
get
people
that.
are saying it. I gotta live up to the hype. So I
Yeah.
think that's kind of how I look at things like that.
Yeah, pretty cool. And as a defender too, I think that is unique. I'm not like an expert in that award, but it's not obviously it's not focused on defenders. So
No.
another award that's kind of cool. It was written. I got to ask. You were all Ohio, which sounds really cool. It only states with that many D1s. Minnesota, we only have 2. It would be a fruitless list. Although Equal Time would be the one to make it. Talk about being all Ohio. There are a lot of colleges, and I bet over 10 D1s.
Honestly, I didn't really take that in that there was. You're actually right. Like there is a lot of
like
colleges.
Akron, Bowling Green, Ohio State. I mean, Cincinnati. There's a million.
No, there's so many. So, I think the accolade it's just any accolade in general is amazing, and like just having your hard work being like recognized on like a larger scale. It makes you feel really good. Obviously, like I said, it makes me want to work harder, but it's pretty cool if you put it like in like perspective like that. Like that's kind of cool. That's cool. That's crazy.
It must have been teams. I mean, at least a handful are in the MAC with you too. So I mean, like, what team? I'm curious. Like, what team did you hate the most? What team did you want to be? I mean, obviously, like, if we would have got to play Ohio State and say like, F State, but like, what for you in the games you played? What was the team you wanted to beat the most?
We did play Ohio State, but just like because. So obviously we came in with the mindset of like we want to be a team that that's in that conference, that's at that high caliber. So I come in wanting to beat every single team, but definitely Ohio State. And then we kind of have like beef with Bowling Green, Kent State. Yeah. I mean, they beat us damn near every year. So like we were like, no, not this year. So BG was definitely them in Ohio, like the University of Ohio. We can't stand them. So no offense to them, but they are
not Bearcats. No, that's
Bobcats. You're close. Yeah.
Does Ohio do the OH chant too, or is it just Ohio State people that do the OH?
I think Ohio State. That's it.
It's for people from Minnesota, it's annoying. Sorry, people from Ohio.
No,
sorry, East Coast Ohioans. We don't like the OH. Or I don't. One other thing about, I want to just generally about being in Kent, like being in Kent, Ohio, like what was your favorite? We talked about the food in Mississippi. Maybe the food of Ohio isn't the same type of flavor, literally, in terms of seasoning, but sorry, Ohio again, wow. But what was your favorite part of being in Kent aside from the soccer team and like the soccer team?
I would say Kent is actually like a cute little town. And because I'm from Whippy, like honestly, cute little towns, I'm pretty like used to them. It's not like I'm a big city girl or anything like that, but it was really, it's like you fall in love with the town itself. I think that goes along with like the people. It helped that my coaching staff, like I loved my coaching staff. I loved my experience there as a player, and just the people who work at Kent State as well. Like I have a great relationship with my athletic director, and like when do you ever like sometimes people don't even know who their athletic director is. So I think the people made me fall in love with Kent, as well as like the location. It's just a cute little dainty town and there's not much to do but soccer, but all I'm trying to do is soccer anyway. So it worked out perfectly. And my mom was close. So my mom was able to drive to a lot of places or a lot of games and stuff like that.
Yeah, a lot of it is close in the MAC. Yeah, everything right across. We got we got an adorable dog in the background too, who's introduced.
Oh, sorry.
The dog is good for views, Tianna. Get the dog right in the middle.
This is Fiji back here.
Fiji.
Yeah, she's hanging out.
Lulled to sleep by our conversation. Yeah. Talk about one of the things you did when you're at Kent State, you went to the Black Student Athlete Summit
Mm-hmm.
last summer. Obviously, in the wake of seeing so many athletes using their voice, and then also the expansion of athlete rights, like we said, like NIL and
Mm-hmm.
people's voices being a little more heard. Talk about what you got out of going to the Black Student Athlete Summit.
Yeah, I mean, I think that experience, like, I don't think anybody at my school had done it before. I think it was the first year that they had given us an opportunity to do so. So I think, as a Black woman, it was really exciting to just go and connect with other Black student athletes who have the same type of experiences as me and who look like me. And I think that opportunity, just being able to bond, and I'm still friends with some of the people who I met at the summit as well. So being able to network as well, and like NILs were just becoming like a really big thing. So I am Canadian, so I wasn't able to get NIL deals in America, which sucks. But just hearing about it was really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. I didn't even think about that aspect of it. Another way, we have not quite nailed the rules down yet in a way that like really works for people. But obviously, you were playing, like when you were playing at Kent State. Did you have the goal? When in your process did you actually think, I want to play pro soccer, or did you think it before you were at Kent State?
Yeah, definitely before. I think playing professional soccer, as soon as I accomplished that goal of going D1, I was like, all right, what's next? Like, I started putting that in. I'm like a big, like I pray a lot, so I put that in my prayers. I put that in, started to like, manifest those types of things, like what I wanted. I wanted to become a MAC Defensive Player of the Year, so I put that in my manifestations, in my prayers as well. And so it's always like the next thing for me. I'm never really like, okay, like this is comfortable. I did this one, so like what's next? And I work extremely hard and just keep my head down and just keep working and try to achieve that goal.
Yeah. Well, and so right now, I mean, thinking of your path, we'll talk about something you tweeted, but the World Cup's going on.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, like, I'm sure we don't have to talk about Canada. We talked a little this is a show for joy and positive memories. But, hopefully it leads to positive growth in the game there. But I wonder, for you growing up near Toronto, and I joke with some of the players of our age difference, but it's like, Christine Sinclair was playing when you were a little kid, and she's still playing. Were there players like her that you looked up to in terms of like Canadian, could have been other players too, that you looked up to and made you think you could be them?
Yeah, I mean, I vividly remember we had like a meeting. I think how old was I? Maybe like 13. We had a meeting at FC Durham, and they were asking us like what our long-term goals were and what our short-term goals were. And I remember my coach at the time, it was Rocky. I wrote down like play for the women's national team, and he was like, talks about it to this day. Like, when I seen you and you're at your little age, like, and you were like saying that you wanted to play for the national team, like obviously it was like, wow, like this girl knows what she wants, so it's always been a dream of mine to play for a national, like my national team, for Team Canada, or even just, I also am Jamaican, so like whether I choose to represent that country as well, like I don't know, but it's always been a goal of mine to play for Team Canada. So Christine Sinclair was a big one, or even Kadisha Buchanan, because she's such a strong center back. I watched her on the news when she first like got her cap, and my mom was like, Tianna, like this could be you, like this could be you. So I think I've just like watched Kadisha throughout her process, and I aspire to be just like her as well.
Oh, Buchanan, she's a killer. Yeah, they have some of those players like her who I think she's probably only in her mid 20s or late 20s. She has like 150 caps. She's been playing since she was like 17 years old.
Crazy.
Yeah, but you posted, said, I'm going to play in the next World Cup. Right?
Yeah, for sure. I'm putting that out there. I mean, I got a couple of years. Yeah. So obviously a lot of improvement, a lot of room for growth. Yeah. So that's my next goal, and I plan to achieve it. So fingers crossed.
Jamaica and Canada, eyes open. It's funny. And both teams, both exciting teams that are, they're just right on the heels of the U.S. Talk about, in terms of the World Cup, have you been watching it or consuming it? It's insane hours. I mean, but have you been able to watch it, and like what, any games besides the Canadian games?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I stayed up. I got up for that France game.
France and Brazil?
Yes.
That was a good game.
crazy. I also watched the Netherlands play the US. I mean, I've been trying to, keep up with these hours of the of the night or like the morning.
Yeah,
But me and my mom, we've woke up, we set our alarm and we'll take a nap some like for this 3 a.m. game or
yeah,
for we stayed up and we just got it done, watched it. I mean, it's the World Cup. It's important for women to be supporting it as well. So
yeah.
it's big.
No, I was bartending not 11 hours ago in the bar for the we had shout out to everyone who came out. I don't know how many bars are open in the Twin Cities for the 2 a.m. games like that. We had over 100 people. People were having fun, and yeah, it was a blast. It's been fun to watch. Even the Canadian team was fun to watch, even though we had that disappointing result.
Yeah.
Talk about you. Like you said, you already knew once you were at Kent State, once you're at Mississippi State, you wanted to be pro. Aurora obviously is a piece of that. One, to get exposure, obviously being named the league's defender of the year helps, things like that. But aside from visibility, having good tape, having good coaches, scouting reports on you, how did you get better playing for Aurora this summer, like leading to trying to be pro?
I was training as well as playing with Minnesota. I was training at Pura Vida. I think they do an amazing job of, keeping me sharp, making sure that I'm always improving. And I feel like every session I leave from there, I get a little bit better. So definitely training there, as well as on top of being at an Aurora practice. I mean, I'm training with high quality girls who want the same things as me. And, they are working just as hard to get to where I want to be as well. So just that competitive environment that the coaches create, and training on top of that, I think that helped a lot.
Yeah. How many of the players we saw Ken's Langdock announce a pro deal? Shout out to Ken. She had something we know that heard that, she had something fall through last summer where she was pretty close after, which, I guess the benefit of Aurora fans is she was available to play season again, because one of the things about this team is players are on it most of them to try to find a path to be like that next step. So eventually they'll leave. They won't be Aurora players anymore. How many other players, before including you, but Ken's has gone pro, right? How many? Morgan Turner's already pro from last year. But aside from Ken's, how many other players? And of course, you're probably talking to them. So, but based on some of what you know, but how many other players do you think might sign a pro deal this fall?
Hopefully one other. I know a lot of people are still in college, but I hope one other person signs goes pro as well. Yeah. But I know everyone kind of has that goal who's there. So yeah, hopefully more people.
Except for Christelle with the number one backup plan of all time, being a doctor.
Oh my gosh.
I was surprised. I was a little surprised she even played the second year. I thought she might be like, look, I got shit to do.
Listen, that girl is like unreal. The fact that she went through medical school and like still was with Aurora, and Aurora's not like a little commitment. Like it's literally like damn near 7 days a week. And she's just one of the hardest workers I know. So for her to, be doing all that it's insane. Yeah.
Wow. Well, we've waited the whole time, Tianna. I just want to know.
Sorry, I don't know. I think I cut out on that. There we go.
We just got to get the clip because supporters could make assumptions based on your performance and based on, your aspirations. But I did just want to ask if you do have your, a pro spot lined up for this fall, or how much you can tell us about that.
Yeah, I do. I can tell you guys that I have officially signed to be a professional soccer player, and I won't tell you the team just yet, but I am going to play in France.
Crazy. Applause all around, Tianna.
Thank you.
And so, I mean, just knowing you're playing in the French league, which is one of the best in the world, obviously, probably the most storied club in the world is there in Olympique Lyon. And then you have the PSG teams and everyone else. But for us, I mean, when was the first step of that process? I'm sure, did you already have an agent coming in the spring looking towards opportunities in the summer, and then it went from there?
Yeah, I actually had an agent before I knew I was going to take my 5th year at Kent State. I started searching for an agent because I knew I wanted to start my professional career. So luckily I had found an agent who was willing to, wait until my 5th year was over and still continue to work with me. So he's just been working tirelessly to find me somewhere to go. And, he did his job, and he did a great job at that. And yeah, he got me that. So that's all him.
Wow, exciting. And when did you find that out? When did you know that it was solid and that you could, depend on that being real.
Right. So I think I didn't really believe it until I like signed that contract. I mean,
Yeah.
so I found out about the offer the day of the game on the 8th.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
the Indy 11 game. But
Whoa.
I know it was like a lot going into it, but I wasn't trying to like think about it, so I just kind of put that to the back of my head because, like an offer is an offer, but
Yeah.
I wanted to just like be like we're fully locked into like the game
Wow.
and this team. So I didn't think about it. I didn't even really tell anyone because
Yeah.
it's like this is a serious game that we're going into, and I was hoping to progress. So
Yeah.
it's not even about me. So after that, I remember it was after we lost, Yell's grandma had came up to me and she was like, "So like what's next for you? Like are you working?" And I was like, "Oh," like I kind of like, spilled the beans a little bit, and then she was like, "What?" And then everybody was kind of like, so I was gonna plan and tell the team like separately, but like wait maybe till like we were at dinner, or we just lost. So like who's really trying to
Yeah.
talk about that? So
Yeah.
some of the girls ended up finding out, and then it just spread like wildfire. But I wanted to wait for the best time to tell them, but they did find out.
That is a challenge, though. That's a real challenge because you say, "Oh, focus on the game," but it's like you're a human being, right? You have that too, so you're compartmentalizing and you're kind of talking yourself through it. But that's pretty tough to have that hanging there. Even that must have.
Yeah.
I'm sure that was a challenge.
Yeah, it was a little hard, but honestly, like I was so like locked in that it didn't
Yeah.
even really. I was like, I want to beat Indy 11s, but I wasn't
Right.
thinking about anything but that day.
And you're like, we better, and I want to do well so that I get this contract. I don't want to.
Right.
I don't want to lose
Right.
the opportunity for it. Yeah.
Right.
So you first thing once you signed the contract must have called mom, right? What did you do first?
Yeah. Well,
You
when I
Googled the city.
accepted,
You've been Googling the city, and then
yeah,
you called mom.
immediately. As soon as I accepted the offer, I called my mom because I was like, yeah, like this is so crazy. And I remember I had called her like before the game because
Yeah.
it happened like that morning. So I was like, okay, like let me call my mom. And I think her reaction kind of just made me feel like so blessed because it's like, wow, like, like finally everything that you've worked for, your dreams, like they're literally like your dreams are coming true and it will
Yeah.
be your job. So just being able to also tell her that her hard work, her sacrifices, and everything she's done for me for this game, like it's all paying off, and like it almost felt like this is for you, mom. Like thanks.
Yeah. A lot of driving. Janet did a lot of driving, a lot of fees, a lot of club fees. But yeah,
She did.
Trip to Paris coming up, I'm sure. Yeah. And do you have any French background? You just get Duolingo going? What'd you?
Yeah, in Canada, French is our second language.
Yeah.
So I did study it from grade 4 to grade 9, but I definitely have to sharpen up on it. So I've made sure I've downloaded Duolingo, and I'm trying to speak French all around the house nowadays. Even though if no one understands me, I'm trying to practice.
I realized second language. I didn't realize. Yeah, if you have to take it for 5 years, that's good. I mean, you have the basics, and I'm sure there's Well, you'll have some other North Americans close by. There's a lot of Canadians who play both in France and England, and then
Sorry.
other Americans. You're good. And other Americans around too. So yeah, hopefully you'll be able to find some. Do you know anyone, or even have like a connection to a player? Do you start trying to look up like, oh, do I have a friend of a friend who is in France?
I'm very lucky that I was training in the off season in December here, or not even December, maybe January here, and I knew one girl on my team had went to France before on Kent State. She went to France, and she played with one of the girls who I was training with. So she's actually I'm gonna play against her in that same
in the league.
I guess, in that league. So that'll be nice. And I kind of have her, and I know her, and I met her here. So it's nice I have her as well. But I know there's like a lot of people from other places on my team. So it'll be very interesting. I'm excited to meet everyone.
Yeah. Well, that is such exciting news for people in Minnesota to hear. Tianna, you became a quick fan favorite with Aurora. Obviously, onto some bigger steps, and we will have to watch your social for when you play like at the Parc des Princes at PSG or play at Lyon. We're gonna have to see the content of that, and get ready to plan your little. Are you kind of in your head thinking you're just kind of going into a romantic comedy or a romantic movie that because I'm going to France, I'm going to go live in a pretty little town? Are you kind of like going through the fairy tale of that?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think part of me is like, oh my gosh, like there's so much work to be done. But I think another part of me is like, wow, like I cannot wait. Like I've been watching like
Yeah.
TikToks on like the south of France, and like I've been
Yeah.
watching, things like that I'm like, wow. I also watched like this show on Netflix called Emily in Paris, and I was
Of
like,
course.
oh my gosh, I'm literally romanticizing it. So I'm
It's gonna be
excited.
exactly like that. Yeah, it's gonna be exactly like Emily in Paris. You're fortunate because you're going to France as a Canadian, so
Hmm.
you're going in. I think you'll be much more welcome
Right.
than so you're going in well. I think.
I'm
Awesome,
excited.
Tianna. Congratulations. We will await the actual word on that team so we
Yeah.
can hype it up. People are going to be busy trying to search for the streams they can find of these European players this year. Thank you
Right.
so much for your time.
No, thank you so much for having me.
All right.